Écoutez attentivement la démonstration, même si vous voyagez fréquemment.
Ladies and gentlemen, before taking off, we'd like to give you some important information concerning your safety.
Over the past 21 years traveling around the world, as one can imagine, I have had innumerable memorable and touching experiences. Of the hundreds of people I've interviewed, I can only think of 2 or 3 painfully unforgettable encounters. The pick of the litter occurred in the Principality of Monaco back in 1994. I had the honor, or so I presumed, to meet and spend some time with Nadia Lacoste, who was functioning as assistant to the president of Société des Bains de Mer and had spent the previous 30 years employed as Prince Rainier's presse attache. It didn't take me long to realize that Nadia thought I was definitely some alien form of Texas ranch hand masquerading as an international travel journalist. One night, we dined in Monte Carlo's world-renowned Louis Cohn's restaurant with legendary chef Alain Ducasse at the helm. Seated at our table was the feature editor for Helen Gurley Brown's Cosmopolitan magazine, the head of Air France in America, followed by Nadia Lacoste and fellow travel journalists from New York and London around the table. 3 hours into the dinner, Miss Lacoste decided to expose my charade. You see, she had spied from across the table that I had accidentally, and I swear only momentarily, put one elbow up on the edge of the table. She clanged her crystal wine glass softly and proclaimed in her overly refined European accent, "Well, table, will you look at Tom? Is he a classic American or what?" Things went downhill from there. The next morning, the Monaco tourism officials had scheduled a radio interview for me and Nadia. Only problem was my allotted time with Nadia in her office was strictly limited to 15 minutes. Since my show was 15 minutes long, I didn't have the luxury of explaining my setup to Nadia. I had to arrive at her office with tape recorder running, and I desperately wanted to explain to her before we got going that I would subsequently script a voiceover and inject a polished formal intro after I returned to the States. So I proceeded with a minimal intro, and you really would have had to been there to fully appreciate the moment. She literally grabbed the mic out of my hand and admonished me for not including her title in her introduction, and it went downhill from there. And I was diplomatic, way more than required, as I did not even use the word pirate when I asked her about how the House of Grimaldi, Prince Rainier's family, came to power 700 years ago. You see, Rainier's ancestors were well known as pirates, and they and their army dressed up as monks knocked on the door of the Monaco Palace and asked politely if they could come in out of the rain. The saps manning the gate of the castle fell for the ruse. The Grimaldi clan shed their fake monk outfits and successfully stormed the castle. 700 years later, the House of Grimaldi still rules Monaco.
Right now we're in Monaco, and I have the pleasure of sitting here with Nadia Lacoste. Hi, Nadia.
Hi there.
Would you be so kind as to tell the listening audience what's your position here?
Well, my name is Nadia Lacoste, and I am press advisor to the president when we talk about this company, since Tom didn't mention as he introduced me, is the Société des Bains de Mer, in short SBM, the 3 letters that stand for the name of the company, but it's actually the company that owns the best hotels, about 18 restaurants, the famous Monte Carlo casino, the golf course, the tennis courts, etc., etc.
I understand that SBM is probably one of the larger property owners and operators in the whole country.
Yes. Well, this is not difficult because, as you probably know, and so do your listeners, Monaco is a very small country. So just to give you an idea, the whole population of Monaco is 30,000, out of which 5,000 are Monegasque citizens. So you see, by employing 2,600 people, it's an important company in the Principality. To become a citizen of the country, it takes at least 10 years of residence before you can apply for it. So that's why there are so few Monegasque people in the world.
Is it true that there is virtually zero unemployment in this country?
I can say close to zero because you'll probably find one or two asking for a job, but that is not because it's unemployment. Most times it's because they like to change jobs.
Monaco is a monarchy. You don't have a king, I understand, but the prince is basically the king of the country?
Well, actually Monaco is a principality.
What is the definition of a principality? How does it differ from kingdom or country?
There were baronies and principalities, and somehow when they all got together, then it became a country, and it became
I heard a story once. This monarchy started by somebody coming into the country and sneaking into the palace dressed as a monk and taking it over.
Absolutely, it's quite correct. Actually, there were two families in Geneva that were fighting for power over, which is the Monaco of today. You see, it was very important because it has a rock which is advances into the sea. So it was a strategic point. There were pirates even in those days, and take things over. And therefore, those two families in Geneva were fighting over who would eventually be the boss. And that's how it happened. It's the family, the Grimaldis, now reigning over this small principality for almost 700 years.
So Prince Rainier is a direct descendant of the...
Yes, absolutely, of the people who came over 700 years. And they did get into the palace dressed as monks, and as everybody, when all the soldiers, were asleep, they opened the doors and let the rest, their own soldiers, come in and take over.
The fortress that we see down by the harbor, the fortifications and the wall, did they date from 700 years ago?
Absolutely, but may I correct you, it's not down by the harbor, it's up on the rock.
But right down by the lower part, I saw like a battlement or some sort of a turret down low.
Well, but that was part of the fortifications, of course.
Nadia, my first perception of Monaco is that this is a playground for the elite and the super rich. We see the Bentleys and the Rolls Royces, and yet as we walk around, we see many people who look to be average tourists. So this is an attractive spot for many people.
Yes, I would say for all kinds of people. They can be young and old, rich and not so rich. If you recall, as we walked around today up on the rock, and you saw the people who were there, most of these people either come with their car or they come with tourist cars. You have to live in a hotel if you come here, because we don't have any grounds for people who come with trailers. We don't have trailers, camps.
And no campgrounds for tents at all?
No campgrounds for tents, no trailer. It's because the country is small that we can't put them up. Any other tourist, who can afford to pay a hotel, and you don't have to think that it's only very expensive hotels and 4-star hotels. Come and see the people, as you said, with the Bentleys and the Rolls Royce. So there is space and place for everybody. And to all the children's joy, McDonald's arrived in Monaco. The French fries, Big Mac and Small Mac and all that.
If you don't want to talk about this is fine, but I understand that you were an assistant to Prince Rainier for the last 30 years, and I imagine that it was a wonderful experience for you, and you must have had some very gratifying moments and times. Is there anything that stands out in your mind during that time?
Well, the first thing I have to correct you with, I was not an assistant to Prince Rainier. I have created the press office in the Principality, and I handled press relations for the palace, and I was spokesperson for the palace. So it's a difference there.
But indirectly, you were the spokesman for Prince Rainier in the palace. Is that true?
It was only, in questions that interested the press.
Yes. So during that time, is there any moments or any experiences that are heartwarming and memorable?
I know it's not answering your question directly, but saying that there were very many wonderful moments.
And were you able at any time to visit with Prince Rainier in a very casual and relaxed manner and laugh and socialize, or was it very formal and distant and defined?
When you work with somebody, it's never formal, and especially when it lasts for as many years as I worked for the family, it's obvious that you have very relaxed moments.
All right. Well, Nadia, I know that you're very busy and you're waiting to get back, and I do appreciate the time that you've taken out to visit with us. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Come back anytime.
All right, thank you. This is Tom Wilmer reporting for KCBX Public Radio from Monaco. We've been talking with Nadia Lacoste.
Oh, and one more thing. 2 of my fellow journalists told me that the rumor was that Nadia Lacoste was not European, had been born and raised in Long Beach, California, and polished her European accent with the aid of a Hollywood voiceover coach before moving to Europe as an adult. Who knows? But that's the rumor.